pandemic hit last year. So it has never been more important than now to make sure your business can be found online. Town Square can help you find more local customers with premium website services to help you grow your business faster. When you visit mylocalcustomers.com. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will find out how it's fast and easy to work with Town Square to get you new leads every day. There are no contracts, and it's a subscription you can cancel anytime. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to receive a free competitive analysis. Be one of the first to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. At mylocalcustomers.com, you will work with a dedicated marketing specialist to help you grow your business. Don't wait. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to learn more about how Town Square can help you grow your business. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, got him!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Football Friday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. We got a jam-packed hour ahead of us. We got a full, long, busy football weekend to preview with all of you out there. And, of course, joining us today, Erin Dolan. She is the FanDuel Sportsbook insider, does all the lines and analysis for them over there at FanDuel Sportsbook Online. She's also the co-host of the Girls Who Bet show over on FanDuel Sportsbook YouTube channel. So we will get into the NFL slate with her. And, of course, every week I give you my picks brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook off the boardwalk at Bally's in Atlantic City. That'll be about 40 minutes from now. But first, as always, we are to get into the latest news on the Eagles' upcoming opponent. We got the 49ers this weekend. Also recap a little bit last night's game with the Giants and Washington, which was a very strange game, to say the least. So we got to get to that. And as well, also coming up about 10 minutes from now, I got to get up on my soapbox because one of the biggest stories in college football this week that also impacted one of our picks from last weekend, we talked a little bit about it earlier in the week, but 10 minutes from now, I got to lay it out for you because I am so sick and tired of people giving analysis on this college football story, and they're completely dropping the ball on it. So we'll get to that as well coming up. So we got picks, we got weekend previews, we got everything coming up right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, and it's all brought to you by my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. As always, you can also reach out to the show. You can direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. And also, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN, where you can watch the show. And, of course, the text board is open 609-403-0973. Now, got to get to the news. Got to get to the latest and greatest because there's a couple things that we need to get to because the injury reports did come out. And I've been telling you guys all week about my concerns with this game. And I'll give you my pick for the game about 40 minutes from now. But the Eagles injury report is very, very different than the 49ers today because we finally have some clarity on who is not playing this Sunday. For the Eagles, one player has been ruled out, and it's the guy that concerned me the most. It's Rodney McLeod. Okay? Rodney McLeod will not be playing in this game. Now, as a general principle, you would say, well, look, they survived without him last week, so they should be fine without him this week. And I understand that thinking and mentality. But here's the problem with that way of thinking. The 49ers are going to present a whole nother set of problems offensively. And there's one other name to look at on this injury report. That would be Marcus Epps. Yes, Marcus Epps is questionable. He's been in the concussion protocol all week. And I'm telling you guys, I have concerns. I am worried about what is going on with this secondary. Because I said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it 100 times. It's one thing for McLeod to miss this game on Sunday. But if Epps can't go, and he's currently questionable for whatever reason, or if he sustains another injury, you're asking a lot more work out of Anthony Harris, and you're demanding Kevon Wallace to basically evolve as a football player a lot faster than you really want him to. And one of my keys for this game on Sunday is, how do the Eagles defense match up with the 49ers offense? People can get all hyped as much as they want about what is going on with the running backs. I kind of don't care, because at the end of the day, a Kyle Shanahan offense is going to get their yards. A Kyle Shanahan team is going to go out and get theirs each and every week. It's just part of the deal. You know that a Kyle Shanahan offense is going to get rushing yards. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the passing game. George Kittle sliced and diced you last year. Now, part of that was because you had Nate Gary on the field, and you don't have Nate Gary to worry about anymore. So that's the good news. But the not so good news is, last week, we didn't see the Falcons unleash Kyle Pitts. We didn't see the full ability of the Falcons offense. I genuinely believe the Falcons offense will get better as the year progresses once they learn to utilize Kyle Pitts better to balance out the passing attack. Because at the end of the day, part of the reason why Julio Jones was so valuable to the Falcons offense was because he was a guy who demanded attention and allowed guys like Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage and the running game to have the open lanes that they have. It's kind of like the inverted situation of what Arthur Smith had in Tennessee, where there was so much tension on Derrick Henry, it allowed Tannehill in the passing game to have basically free reign. So for the Eagles, one of my concerns is George Kittle is still playing. And you know who else is still playing? Deebo Samuel. Couple very, very talented guys on offense. How are you going to slow those guys down? Because if you spend too much time focused on those two guys, it's going to open up opportunities for others. And that's where guys like Mitchell and Sermon and Hasty, the running backs who can also all contribute in the passing game, can have an impact on this game. Now, I know what I would do with Kittle. I know what I would do with Deebo. But you can let me know what you would do as well. Message the show here on Game Night. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. To me, that's one of the keys of the game. The other key of the game is the Eagles' offense is going against a 49ers team that is going to have a ton of injuries on defense. Now, here's the injury report for the 49ers. I told you guys yesterday, Dre Greenlaw, he's done for at least 6 to 8 weeks. He had surgery. Emmanuel Mosley, the cornerback, is doubtful. So you're already without Jason Verrett. Emmanuel Mosley is doubtful. You signed Dre Kirkpatrick from basically off the street at this point. And according to Matt Burrows, who covers the 49ers for The Athletic, he says that Mosley was a limited participant at Friday's practice. So with that being said, that secondary is going to be completely banged up. And when you are leaning on a young player like Lenore out of Oregon, who was a top-tier recruit out of high school, going to Oregon, and now you're asking Lenore to come into the NFL and go mano-a-mano with either Jalen Reagor or Devonta Smith. And we know that Lenore got burned at times in college. He was not the most consistent cover guy at Oregon. He was good, but he wasn't elite. So with that being said, can the Eagles take advantage of a busted up 49ers secondary? And by the way, it's not like they're 100% healthy on the front line either. Javon Kinlaw is expected to play, even though he's listed as questionable. But he's not 100%. D. Ford was a full participant at practice today, but he's been dealing with an ankle issue. Eric Armstead, he's questionable for the game. He's been dealing with an adductor injury. So that's 3 of their primary front pass rushers who are all banged up. So the 49ers are going to be leaning very heavy on Nick Bosa in this game. And if the Eagles can find a way to slow down Bosa and not allow him to wreck this game, because he is a legit game wrecker. He is the kind of defensive force of nature that when he gets his head pinned in a certain direction, you can't stop him. Doesn't matter who's blocking. So you got to find ways to get him off his spot. You got to find ways to make sure that Nick Bosa can't impact this game. So on each side of the ball, part of my keys for this game is Bosa on defense, Kittle on offense. And once we can isolate both of those guys, and there are ways to do it, okay? To me, the George Kittle situation is very simple. You either tell Anthony Harris that he is going to guard him, or you tell one of the corners they're shadowing him the entire game. Okay? It's like in basketball. Boxing 1, the idea is that you have one guy playing man and the rest of the 4 guys playing zone. That's what I would do with Kittle. I would have one guy guarding him and everybody else playing zone for the most part, and basically daring the 49ers to go somewhere else. Like, if you're going to beat me with somebody else. Beat me with anybody else on your roster but Kittle. And honestly, when it comes to Deebo Samuel, I would just tell Steven Nelson to watch him. I mean, maybe you even go just 2 guys playing man the entire game. Maybe Slay goes on Kittle, and then Nelson goes on Deebo Samuel. And then you just tell the 49ers, we're not letting Samuel beat us. We're not letting Kittle beat us. Good luck. And then, see what happens. That's kind of maybe the theory that I have with that. And then on the defense side of the ball with Bosa, I would turn to Mailata and just be like, look, dude, that dude said bad things about your mom. That dude calls you a rugby player. Do whatever you got to do to get into Mailata's mind to basically get him to look at Nick Bosa like basically chop liver and then just go after him. Because to me, I don't think anybody on the Eagles offensive line outside of Mailata and Lane Johnson have any chance of slowing down Nick Bosa. Sayamalu does not have the power. Jason Kelsey, you don't want him sliding over in double teams and opening up too many gaps in the offensive line. And then Brandon Brooks, again, the same thing with Kelsey. I don't want to slide him off of somebody else to go help Sayamalu, let's say. And I shouldn't have to worry about Lane or Jordan when it comes to those edges. So I'm telling Lane Johnson, I'm telling Jordan Mailata, these pass rushers are your responsibility. We gave you this money. We gave you this responsibility. We gave you this job. Now go kick some rear. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'll give you my official pick for the Eagles game coming up in about 30 minutes from now. Also, we'll get to your messages throughout the show. Of course, the text board is open, 609-403-0973. Also, we are live on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Download it for free from the Google Play Store or from the Apple App Store. You can direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And as always, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Don't forget 973ESPN.com for all your Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, Flyers, and high school sports coverage right there at 973 ESPN.com and also on the 973 ESPN mobile app. As promised, coming up next, we'll dig deeper into the matchups and the lines of NFL Week 2. Erin Dolan, FanDuel Sports Insider for the Sportsbook, joins us next right here on Game Night. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Football Friday here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schweim, Scott McKay and I will reflect on the Eagles' Game 1 victory over the Falcons and look at the Birds' next opponent, the 49ers. The Sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan calls in from Vegas with his 6-pack of picks, and a lucky listener will win an Eagles prize package courtesy of Pro Image Sports and Fan Treasures. Tune in for the details. It's the locker room with Billy Schweim, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app.
First Bank of Sea Isle is Cape May County's lending expert, standing strong with you at First Bank of Sea Isle. Find out how First Bank of Sea Isle can simplify your banking needs. Your partner since 1888. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
week's featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. This Saturday in college football, I'm taking UCLA at home and the 11.5 points versus Fresno State. Bet all the action in style at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Last night was the start of NFL Week 2, and it was 2 NFC East teams going head-to-head, so getting more into that, as well as NFL Week 2. The football weekend is here. We have Erin, Dolan, FanDuel Sportsbook Insider, joining us right now on the phone here on 97.3 ESPN. Erin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and you know what? I think I'm doing a little better because last night we saw 2 NFC East teams basically beat the snot out of each other. Washington was very lucky to come out of that game with a win, and it gets back to something I've been saying this week, Erin. You know, Washington and Philadelphia both have the second best odds right now on FanDuel Sportsbook at plus 340 before last night's game to win the division. And after last night, you just got to start wondering, should Philly actually be more of a favorite to win the division than they are?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question to pose. I mean, I think the line has come down a tad for Washington. They're plus 260, Dallas ahead, plus 125, Birds are plus 320. I mean, people were saying before last night's game, and I was kind of laughing at this, this was like the toilet bowl of all Thursday night football games. I mean, a matchup nobody really wanted to watch. But as we know, the Giants basically let that entire game slip away. If you weren't tuning into that game, the Giants left points on the field. I mean, there was missed passes, there was offside penalties, which ended up leaving Washington being able to have that second chance to attempt that game-winning field goal. But as for the Giants, it's unfortunate because you see in the odds, they moved to plus 750. So they moved pretty far out to the point where you know that the Giants most likely don't have a shot, whereas before NFL Week 1, when you were looking at the odds, they were the shortest of all divisional odds. So I had made the case, and it's hard for me to say this also, I know, for people, because I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I am from Philadelphia. I had said take the Eagles at plus 480 just because the division was so unpredictable. This was also before we saw Dak Prescott play in that Thursday night football matchup. But I think there's still a case to be made for the Birds, especially if they win against the 49ers and Dallas loses against the Chargers in this week too. I mean, Washington, you don't want to discredit them at all, but given that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be out for 8 weeks and they almost did lose to the Giants, like we can't take that out of the equation. It's not like they dominated this team. So I think it makes a lot of sense still to find value on the Birds at plus 320. I can't discredit Dallas either, plus 125. I'm just a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so I definitely will not be rooting for them to win the division.
Well, also really quick with last night's game as well, you know, I'm starting to wonder, I heard somebody else bring this up, so this isn't my original idea, but someone else I heard this morning when I was still waking up was talking about the fact that have people figured out Washington's defense? That was the staple of the team last year. So if Washington's defense is not on the same caliber as they were last year, in some ways you kind of have to wonder, does Washington have what it takes to win the division, considering that they still have tougher games down the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, the matter of the fact is the Giants stink, to be quite frank, once again. I mean, I don't really know which other way to put it. I mean, Joe Judge said in the press conference after, they can't blame it on one particular person, but I feel like the one main theme with the New York Giants is, and you could kind of make the argument for other teams too, being excited going into the season, but it just seems to be the repetition of just a bad offense, bad defense. They can't really get it together. They didn't really seem like a cohesive team last night. Not a lot of chemistry. And you can kind of tell that from the press conference last night. I think how Saquon Barkley spoke after the game about that they can't do these types of things. They need to win together as a team. Kind of, I could see kind of the frustration in his voice and on his face of, oh, we really did just drop this game. In terms of their defense and whatnot, I mean, they're 0-2 at this point compared to some of the other teams. I just don't think they really have a shot whatsoever.
Yeah, Daniel Jones now 0-6 in prime time. He's got to face some guy named Patrick Mahomes about 2 months from now, so he's going to be 0-7 very soon.
Yeah, I will say that quickly, is that the Giants do cover. Okay, so if you want to bet on them, they're 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 versus an NFC East team 7-1 against the spread in their last 7 versus NFC teams. They just don't win, but they do cover.
Well, listen, they win you money. They might not win on the field. So it's kind of in one hand, out the other hand kind of deal.
For sure.
Erin Dolan joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. And give her a follow on Twitter at Erin K. Dolan, FanDuel Sportsbook Insider, joining us here. We mentioned the Birds. They are currently still an underdog at home, but I've been saying all week, this 49ers team is injured, Erin. They got injuries out the wazoo. It's ridiculous how many guys. I mean, at this point, who knows who's actually going to play on Sunday defensively? And in that case, I'm feeling better and better about the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field at home, and they may be 2-0, and the rest of the division is going to be looking up at them still.
I agree with you. So I'm going with the Eagles in this one to cover. I got them +3.5 on Tuesday. It's now down to +3. The Birds are going to have that extra momentum, of course, from beating the Falcons. The Falcons are nothing to write home about. They only had 4 wins last season, so that's not too surprising that they were able to pull that upset. But Jalen Hurts looked so good in that first game, 27 for 35, 264 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. He ran for 62 yards. His 77% completion rate is the highest ever on opening day for an Eagles quarterback. He also has now had 3 career games with at least 250 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown pass. So he obviously looked great. Devonta Smith, love him, 6 catches for 71 yards. Again, you can make the argument that it was against the Falcons, but you make a great point with the San Francisco 49ers. They are injured. I mean, running back Raheem Mostert, you have Jason Barrett, they're season-ending injuries. They are not coming back. And last season, it was interesting because, well, not interesting, it was unfortunate. For the Eagles, they were completely injured. Same thing with the San Francisco 49ers. So it looks like the Eagles are way healthier, and they're playing at home, and I feel like that's really going to be an edge in this. Now, something that's interesting is 90% of the money on the FanDuel Sportsbook is on the Eagles' money line for this game, 72% of the money on the Birds to cover, 86% of the money on the over here. Now, given FanDuel's biggest markets, or some of their biggest markets are PA and New Jersey, it makes sense that this would be inflated for our local teams, but people are really looking to back the Birds in this one.
It's also interesting, the fact you mentioned how people are backing the Birds. Also, you have to factor in, because let's be realistic. I mentioned this early in the week. This is the first time that we actually can enjoy watching the Eagles, whether you're an Eagles fan or a football fan. There's no drama right now. There's no strings attached. There's no side stuff going on. It's like you could sit down and watch a football game and not have to worry about, it's something be on TMZ-ish the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I was never a Carson Wentz fan from the moment he started. I loved that Nick Foles won us that Super Bowl. I actually have Foles in a picture on my wall right now. But yeah, I mean, the drama that surrounded that team last season, I feel like it had to run through that locker room and obviously on offense. I saw a report, I believe it was Lane Johnson, had said something about Nick Sirianni had a press conference the night before, and they all went around the room and shook hands and were like, we're one team this season. And I think I had doubted Nick Sirianni, especially after those first couple of press conferences. I mean, I think everyone did. I mean, people on ESPN were doubting him, but clearly I think I can see the chemistry. Again, we just beat the Falcons. It's nothing to write home about, but it does feel like a different team, a different vibe. And even being in the city of Philadelphia, I think people are ready to, like you mentioned, just sit down, watch the game, enjoy it, no drama.
Now, I am known at this point as a Jalen Hurts guy, partly because I feel like the only person who's defending him half the time. But Jalen Hurts for MVP, is that a bet that people should jump on, considering the fact that he right now, through his first 5 starts, has better passing numbers than Lamar Jackson in his first 5 starts?
Yeah, so I think you make a great point, but really in the MVP market right now, from what I have been given from FanDuel, so Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray stored up the odds board. Stafford moved from 17 to 1 to plus 800. Now one of the favorites, Murray, moved from 23 to 1 to plus 900. If I'm trying to find Jalen Hurts right now in terms of the MVP odds, let me just find that quickly for you. But in general, I can't make the argument that he's going to win MVP. It's kind of a tough one for me. I actually had Baker Mayfield winning it. And then, of course, in week 1, he's looking great. Everything's looking good. Patrick Mahomes comes in and completely shows me why I shouldn't have said Baker Mayfield, despite his odds completely being cut in half. But there's always, Jalen Hurts is 30 to 1 compared to some of these other guys on the board. Some of the favorites, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, everybody else is 12 to 1 or greater. I personally wouldn't put money on Jalen Hurts, even though I'm a fan.
Erin Dolan joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Erin K. Dolan on Twitter, FanDuel Sportsbook Insider. Also, don't miss each week on YouTube, the Girls Who Bet Show. She is the co-host of that. Erin, let's talk about a couple other games around the league. Let's stay in the NFC East for one more. Cowboys at the Chargers. So I've already been on record. I think the Cowboys lose this game. I think the loss of La'el Collins and Lawrence, I think it's just way too much. And I think that this Cowboys team, they got the Hard Knocks curse hanging over their head at this point.
I hope that kind of translates into the Colts as well with Carson Wentz, because I think they're doing an in-season one now.
That is correct. Night. Yes, that's I don't know. That's gonna be torture.
It is. Okay, so Prescott, obviously, he threw 403 yards, 3 touchdowns. They looked great against the Tampa Bay Bucs, but you can also factor in what's known as the Super Bowl hangover and kind of getting into the groove that first game back. As we know, the Tampa Bay Bucs won. They didn't cover. So from a betting perspective, I'm always thinking about who covers rather than who wins the game, which is something that I need to start working on. But in terms of this game, I actually am taking the Chargers to go 2-0 for the first time since 2012. I really like Justin Herbert. I think, he played great in that first game, 337 yards, touchdown pass against Washington football team as well. I had them winning that game outright, which was perfect for me. I did not expect, obviously, the injury with Ryan Fitzpatrick, but even if he wasn't injured, I still had the Chargers winning that. Now, it's going to be, again, a situation with Dallas. If they do go 0-2 to start the season, the conversation will still start around, is Dak Prescott all that to ride home about? Is he going to be, the comeback player of the year? Because he is the favorite to win that right now, despite maybe his team not being great around him. I'm just sick of hearing the hoopla around America's teams. Again, Eagles fan doesn't help it. But in terms of some of the betting trends, Dallas is 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 as an underdog. Meanwhile, the Chargers 5-1 against the spread in the last 6, following an against the spread win, which last week they did when they beat the Washington football team. And then in terms of where I'm seeing the money, 82% of the money is on Dallas to win. 91% of the bet count is also for them to win outright money line. 71% of the bets are on Dallas to cover, 93% of the money on the over. So people clearly thinking out of all the underdogs on the board, Dallas could potentially be one. Now, this is overreaction week. We know week 2 is that. In week 1, I bet all the underdogs. I love the underdogs. I love plus money, but I know in this particular week, a lot of the favorites will probably take it home since the underdogs went 12-4 against the spread last week, also won 9 straight. So for me, I'm going with the Chargers.
A couple other games I want to hit on with you here. You mentioned hangover. I think the Raiders might have a hangover for this game coming up versus the Steelers, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of stories coming out of Vegas that they were partying very, very hard after their win on Monday night. So I'm looking at that Steelers team that went to Buffalo, punched the Bills in the face. And I'm looking at the Steelers. I'm thinking, man, this might be a much easier win than the line is telling us.
Yeah, I totally understand why you would think that. And first of all, if you've ever been to Las Vegas, you can't walk into that city without drinking. So that does not surprise me that the Raiders wanted to party after. I didn't think they actually would, but it's funny that you're saying that they could have that little bit of a hangover from Monday. But in terms of the Buffalo Bills, I thought they were overrated from before the season started. I was talking about that, so I'm not surprised the Steelers beat them. For me, I think Big Ben, I can't get behind him anymore. I think it's time to hang it up. For this particular game, I'm not betting on it. There are certain games that I'm just like, I'm staying away from it. I hate that the line's 5.5. So what I would do in this game is look towards the prop markets. Look to bet the first half spread as well. It's right now Pittsburgh -3.5. You could always take an anytime touchdown scorer. And then in terms of where I'm seeing the money come in, people are back in Pittsburgh money line. But although 73% is on that, 58% of the bets are on the Raiders to win outright, which is quite interesting. So we're seeing reverse in terms of where the money is coming in compared to the bets. And then 72% of the money is on Pittsburgh to cover as well, 88% of the money on the under. This is just I hate the line 5.5. I stay away from it every single time. I totally understand how you're thinking the Steelers playing at home could easily win by a touchdown. The Raiders obviously were able to have that Monday Night Football comeback win, huge win over the Ravens. But I mean, they're really banged up. So it's not like they were playing a fully healthy Lamar Jackson and the Ravens team. But this is one of those I would go into the prop markets for.
You mentioned the Buffalo Bills. How do you gauge the AFC East right now? They're all going to play each other this weekend. Buffalo at Miami, the Patriots at the Jets. I mean, how do you gauge this division considering the fact that after week 1, none of them really looked good?
I know. The other game I was going to mention that I'm staying away from is the Patriots versus the Jets. You had two rookie quarterbacks. I know people are raving about Mac Jones. He's now the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Trevor Lawrence in second there. I like the Miami Dolphins. I think they're a team that will continue to be upset. All their lines kind of hang around 3.5, which they're always underdogs and somehow always cover. So I usually take the Miami Dolphins. In terms of the Bills, a lot of people are going to make the case that they'll play a lot better. They'll be able to easily cover 3.5. For me, I'm still backing the Dolphins in this one as probably one of the underdogs that I would take. Everyone raves about Josh Allen, and I understand why when you look at the stats and everything. He has some offensive weapons that are unbelievable, but I think that we're going to eventually see negative regression. They've had a couple of good seasons in the past, not being able to make it out of the divisional round. So I think that for me, if I was to bet into the AFC East division winner, I'd say the Miami Dolphins plus 175. The Patriots are in rebuild. New York Jets are in rebuild as well. You can make the case for the Bills, but if you wanted to find value, I think the Dolphins would be where to go.
One more for Erin Dolan from FanDuel Sportsbook joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Chiefs at the Ravens. But Erin, Patrick Mahomes era Chiefs have a losing record against the spread. So I think a lot of people think the Chiefs are going to win, but are they going to cover versus the Ravens?
Interesting. So I have them to cover. I got them at -3 on Tuesday. So it opened -1. It's now to -3.5. I hate betting -3.5, but some of the games this week I'm just going to take considering it's overreaction week. But in this matchup, 85% of the money is on Kansas City to win outright. 95% on the money is on Kansas City to cover. People clearly have no faith right now in the Ravens being able to do anything. I'm not sure if you saw, but there was a tweet that came out. 8 players are on the injured reserve for them. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have 0 injuries as practice began. So the Ravens are still banged up. The Chiefs also get back Tyrann Mathieu, who missed that game 1 due to COVID protocol. But the Chiefs are able to pull back ahead against the Browns last week. They had a basically dominant second half, didn't look great in that first half. As for the Ravens, they started out hot. Obviously, the Raiders came back and beat them. Lamar Jackson 0-3 against the Chiefs. So for me, I think the Chiefs can win by more than a field goal, even though I have them at -3. Hopefully that's not going to push for me. But unfortunately for the Ravens, they're just too banged up for me to back them right now.
Give her a follow on Twitter, Erin Kate Dolan, FanDuel Sportsbook Insider, and she joined us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Erin, before I let you go, tell everybody about the Girls Who Bet on YouTube.
Yeah, so a show that we just started, Liv Moods and I, is Girls Who Bet. That's on Wednesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We basically stream live for an hour to an hour and a half on YouTube. We're also on Twitch, and the point of the show is kind of to give betting advice, go through some of our picks, but also involve some pop culture. We'll be bringing on guests. So for episode 3 this week, we'll bring on Ariel Epstein of Sports Grid and FanDuel. So that's going to be great. And we kind of just want to open a new market to women that want to get involved in betting and be able to sit and kind of learn it a little bit and also kind of kick back and talk about relevant things in sports and pop culture.
Well, it's a fun show. I encourage everybody to go subscribe, go check out FanDuel Sportsbook on YouTube. That's where they can catch the show, Girls Who Bet, and give Erin a follow on Twitter at Erin Kate Dolan. Erin, appreciate you joining me today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. And of course, FanDuel Sportsbook, yes, they want to get you the most out of every game day. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every single week. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. A same-game parlay allows you to combine multiple bets from one matchup or team into a single parlay to go for an even bigger win. And offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you could also claim your 30-1 odds on the biggest game this Sunday, Chiefs versus Ravens. Just sign up with promo code Hennig for 30-1 odds on either Kansas City or Baltimore to win. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. That expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Same game parlay available in multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. All right, coming up next, We'll get you a full breakdown of the college football and NFL slates for the weekend as we do each and every Football Friday right here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 2 of the 2021 season. This Sunday, hosting the 49ers at the Link.
1st and 10, San Francisco at the 25. It's intercepted down the far sideline and in for an Eagles touchdown, Alex Singleton.
Pre-game coverage begins at noon. Maryland Mike called all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN. South Jersey's Eagles station.
sales. See dealer for details. At Bennett Chevrolet, your vehicle will never be worth more than it is this month. That's a fact. Bennett will pay you top dollar on the spot and will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy one of ours. No sales pressure, just top dollar for your trade. In fact, this month only, Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 for your trade. Let me repeat. Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle on our lot. No matter the condition or miles, even if your trade's a total wreck, it's worth $8,000 this month only. Imagine how much more we'll pay for a good quality trade-in. Get to Bennett Chevy and you could drive away in a newer vehicle with the same or even lower payments than you're making on your old vehicle. Plus, at Bennett, we have non-commissioned sales folks who are paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So there's never any sales pressure and never any need to negotiate. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
This week's featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. This Saturday in college football, I'm taking UCLA at home and the 11.5 points versus Fresno State. Bet all the action in style at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on a Football Friday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Let's get to your messages before we get to the rundown of all the college football and NFL action from the weekend. Of course, there's a multitude of ways you can get in touch with the show. You're listening on the radio in your car. You're watching us online. You're catching us through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. If you haven't downloaded it, it's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Apple App Store, Google Play, wherever you get your apps from, you can get the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for free. Let's get some of your messages before I give you my Eagles pick and then run down the rest of the weekend. Of course, the text board is open, 609-403-0973. Texter chimes in and says, who is covering Kittle this weekend, Josh? Well, here's my thinking. I want one of two things to happen. They either need to tell one of the corners to just shadow him and then hope for the best with that situation, or you got to do some sort of zone bracket coverage where it's like, the idea is that there's like assignment zones where it's like, all right, if he crosses into this guy's zone, he picks him up. But then as soon as he leaves your zone, the next guy picks him up. So to me, it's either got to be like a box and one situation where in basketball, you got one man playing defense, everyone else playing zone. So it's got to be something like that, or it needs to be something like, for example, these layered zones. Like, for example, a lot of the cover 3 zones that are out there, the idea is that on passing downs, the corners got like a certain part of the field and the linebacker a certain part of the field and the safety is, but all those parts of the field are overlapping on each other. So that way you could avoid the gaps in the zone. And unless you have a guy like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, it's hard for a quarterback to differentiate those zones. And Jimmy Garoppolo is not as high a level of a quarterback to differentiate some of those zones. So instead of going to Kittle, he'll just go somewhere else with the ball, which means that you have a lesser threat getting targets. So that's what I think the Eagles should do. Nick from Brigantine says, Josh, relax. I'm predicting the same score I said last week's game. Eagles 31, San Fran 13. Turn your nightlight off. That's Nick from Brigantine. All right, first of all, Nick, how about you relax? All right, don't tell me to relax. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not here to, lie to you guys, all right? I'm here to give you the facts. And the facts are there are things that are concerning in this game. And the Eagles are the team that I am going with again this week. If you would have asked me on Monday and Tuesday, I would have said 49ers. But as soon as the injury report came out Wednesday and Thursday, I flipped my script. I understand the Eagles are a +3 right now over at FanDuel Sportsbook. They opened at +4. You heard Erin Dolan tell us that over on FanDuel Sportsbook, 90% of the bets are coming in on either the Eagles spread or the money line. I know the traditional saying is you don't go with the public, but I don't care. I'm going with the analysis. And the analysis says you got to go Eagles this week. To me, I don't think San Francisco's secondary is going to be able to stop the Eagles' offense. I think they have a big day at the office. So I'm going to say the Eagles win 28-21. That's what I'm thinking the score is going to be, because I think San Francisco will still get theirs. It's very hard to stop a Kyle Shanahan offense with that kind of blocking scheme, with that kind of running game. But I think the Eagles can outscore them because the 49ers defense is so damaged in the secondary. As long as Jalen Hurts gets good pass protection, they will be fine. That's how I'm looking at it. A couple messages coming in over people watching the show. Jay chimes in and says, "What's up, Josh? Do you think Gannon will stress the DNs to stay disciplined for setting the edges this week?" I think Gannon is going to show us actually a lot more variety in terms of fronts. I think you're going to see a lot more of these different formations. Some of these fronts are going to look like a 5-2. Some are going to look like a 46. Some of them are going to look like different things. But then when the snap happens, they're going to go in different directions. I think you're going to see a lot more variety from the defense this week, because I think Gannon knows that the 49ers love the run misdirection. So one of the ways you handle a misdirection offense is to misdirect their misdirection. They think you're going right, you go left. So when they go left instead of going right, you're right in their face to hit them. And that's kind of what I would at least think they're going to do. And like I said earlier, Jay, I think that there's going to be a lot of zone coverages to try to confuse Jimmy G on the passing game. Jeff Bonampuki chimes in and says, Sirianni is smart for resting some of our vets this week. You better rest them, because this is going to be a physical game. And I think the combination of a physical game with the loud stadium sellout crowd, the Eagle fans going to be going wild. I think that the Eagles win this game. I think it's a big game where the fans are going to get involved. And I think a lot of games last week, you saw road teams win, but you go back and watch those games. Part of the reason why underdogs and road teams were winning last week is because the crowd wasn't involved in some of those games. I don't think Eagle fans let up. I don't think Eagle fans are going to hold back like some of the fans did in previous weeks. You know, Bow Wow was complaining about Eagle fans at Atlanta. You think Eagle fans in Atlanta are going to be heard compared to Lincoln Financial Field? Come on, guys. Let's be serious here. All right, I got to rapid fire some of these picks because we don't have a lot of time here on the shows. Here's some of the games I'm watching this weekend. We'll stick with the NFL real quick. First of all, I think the Cardinals win outright. Big. The Vikings are without Anthony Barr and Everson Griffin and Eric Kendricks. They're going to be all out for this game. So I'm riding with the Cardinals. I'm also riding, as you heard me mention, Erin Dolan, Steelers -6.5. I just think the Raiders have a hangover, and the Steelers defense is just way too good. I'm feeling the under 47.5. Bills, Dolphins. Neither team scored a lot of points last week, so I'm feeling that under. Also, I really like the Chargers, like I said. I think the Chargers are going to beat up a Cowboys team. No Lawrence, no Collins. There's another Cowboys offensive lineman who's going to miss time this weekend. It looks like it at least he just got released from the hospital due to a non-COVID sickness. We'll be checking on that. So those are the NFL games I'm keeping an eye on this weekend. Also in college football, Cincinnati, I think they're going to go to Indiana and beat up on them. Watch out for Stanford at Vanderbilt. The -12 looks big, but Vandy is a very poor team. You heard my pick of the week. It was a -11.5. Well, now it's down to -10.5. It looks like some of the public is trying to ride Fresno State, but don't be fooled. UCLA is a much better team. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be back on tomorrow, Sports Back Saturday, after Billy Schwein in the locker room.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff.